Thanks for inviting me. For those of you, yes, on the door outside, it does say Keith Jones, who's our Environmental Practices Advisor. So what I'm going to be presenting on is an overview of our North Wales Hydro project, which actually Keith is managing. So if anyone has any sort of technical questions or anything afterwards, then I'll take down your details and get him to get in touch with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about the National Trust's kind of attitude to community energy. It's something we're probably a little bit far behind on, but we are trying to get into now. The benefits of working with the community as we see it, and then finally the Community Energy Coalition vision. So firstly, just the National Trust. Most people think of the National Trust, they think of a big mansion house, but we're not. We have a lot more now. We have a number of villages, castles, we own 700 miles of coastline, 2,000 agricultural tenants. Well, you can see the figures there stack up for themselves there. So we actually have a lot of work to do when we're talking about energy as the National Trust. So something we proposed, well, this is something we actually, if you go onto our website, you can download our energy report back in 2008. This is what we've actually proposed, the energy shift we will have from 2008 to 2020. First of all, you should be able to notice that the circle on the right is somewhat smaller than the circle on the left. So the first part of energy shift is actually energy efficiency, which actually follows on from what we were just hearing, really, which is a huge programme of work looking at energy efficiency in hand with our own buildings, so mansions and things. But the second part of that is really looking at how big our renewables target is for 2020. So you'll see 2008 we had 1% renewables, and by 2020 we want 50% renewables. So a huge target we've set ourselves. But we believe by, like I said, looking at the amount of land we own, by the properties we own, that this is something we can work towards. So this is a project which is taking off in Wales at the moment. Forgive me, I'm not going to pronounce all the Welsh names. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce them. I think Keith might have stitched me up a bit here. But this is a big hydro project we're working on. One of a number of hydro projects we're working on in Wales. Wales has very much been our pilot area. Keith has just got planning permission for a large hydro on within Snowdon National Park itself. This particular project that we're talking about here is our community project that we're looking at. So ABBA, as I'm going to call it here, is as you can see, is a small rural community of just 100 households and 230 residents just on the northern boundary of Snowdon National Park. And it stands, as you can see, this is the waterfall here, which is what it's actually most sort of best known for, if you like, which gets the sort of 50,000 visitors a year. As you might have seen from one of the previous slides, we actually own it's actually about 60 villages we own, so we actually do a lot of community work. And this isn't just to do with energy, this is to do with a lot of land that we own. We have a lot of sort of dealings with our communities in terms of projects that we're taking forward. But like I said, this is a particular energy one we're looking at. So this is the village at the top there. So if I fast forward, hopefully it should, you can see there where the weir is at the top, at the bottom right there of your screen, where the falls are and where the village is, and the turbine house as well. So why do we want to establish this project? Well, it's a deprived area in Wales, so we've seen a lot of loss of amenities recently, and due to that, obviously employment opportunities have reduced. So the income from this is what we see as an area of being able to give some of this community and the neighbouring communities the resources to be able to address that problem. So as we've heard about, community engagement is absolutely vital for anything like this. So what have we done in terms of community engagement? Well, we've had a public meeting and we've gone door-to-door calls with the local community there to assess the community to support. And actually what we found is the support has been overwhelming from the community, and we've had about 80 signatures of support for the project. So, and I think that's really important, sort of, hearing, from yourself that actually it's not just doing that at the beginning, that goes throughout the whole project. It's really, really important. Oh, sorry about that. And I should say as well that as the kind of feasibility study progresses, this system isn't in place at the moment. We have got other events that we're planning to do. And it's when talking about community engagement, it's not just looking at that specific village. The community is, when you sort of talk about a community, who are you talking about? You're talking about the village, you're talking about neighbouring areas. So there's a whole programme of community development to do there. So what is the National Trust's attitude to community energy? Well, there's quite a few reasons why we're interested in it, actually. It is relevant for us. As I said, we've got a big energy target to reach there. So actually for us, from a pure National Trust point of view, we're really interested in developing these systems. We own so much land that has, particularly in Wales, hydro systems. I mean, Keith is finding them day in, day out. All these old hydro systems that, you know, we just want to get back in place. I mean, from those, obviously, we have a potential for an increase in income. I mean, looking at the National Trust as a business, you know, very much the focus has been on the mansions, on retail sales and stuff, but actually energy is a huge potential income for us. So it's a switch, you know, at the top of the National Trust, really looking at some of these energy projects that we can do. And actually our founding principles of the National Trust is to work with our communities, is to take things back to the very basics. And we have experience of this. My role as the Low Carbon Village Project Coordinator, I coordinated 2 projects, one of them in Oxfordshire actually, looking at getting the village itself to reduce the carbon footprint. So we've done work with communities, we're good at that. We've done programmes of community insulation across Wales as well. So we know that we can do these things on a community scale. It's actually taking that next step up to community energy now. 2 minutes, okay, I'll speak fast. So the benefits. So working with the community can actually make a planning process much simpler, particularly in the light of kind of the Localism Act. But it has to be a true partnership, and actually without the community, some of these projects just won't take place. Most sort of large-scale renewables, particularly wind and hydro, have a risky first phase, and getting to planning permission can it can actually cost a lot of money, but communities can access grant funding much easier than we can as a charity. So working with a community has a lot of benefits from that side of stuff. And we've actually recently developed our energy supply with the co-op, which has highlighted a financial value, which is trading energy to the community, which is sleeving, as you can see on the bottom there. Some of the soft benefits. So working with the community, we've actually had other communities that we work with approach us about commercial partnerships. And it also, as I said, it has a lot of benefit when you start working with the community on an energy project. They start to see the ownership, they start to see that we're doing good for the land. And actually other projects that we have with the community benefit from that as well. So the challenges. One of our biggest challenges is the Charity Act. Which actually is there to ensure that a charity always receives fair and reasonable terms for the use of its assets, i.e. its land leasing. This actually means that we can be hampered working with the community because the benefit is currently only measured by the Charity Commission in monetary terms. So therefore the community is actually matched up against a commercial company. It makes it very, very difficult. And trading energy, we're not allowed to sell energy as a charity. So it seems silly, really, that we purchase millions of pounds of energy to run the National Trust and all our properties, yet we can't trade it. So what we actually have is a National Trust enterprise company, which is what we're starting to look at to be able to work. So finally, the Community Energy Coalition, just as you can see there, 99% of the country's electricity is generated by 6 companies. So this is something that I know Colin's going to be sort of leading on to talk about. The new Community Energy Coalition, which includes some of the best known organisations there. So alongside ourselves, we've got the Cooperative Group, we've got the National Federations of Women's Institutions and the Church of England, who want to start this revolution with communities at its heart to drive affordable energy, secure energy. So the headline vision for this, for community energy in 2020, is communities across the UK owning, generating and saving energy together for the benefit of all. And we believe that community energy can and should be all of these things. It should enable all communities to collectively play a substantial role in meeting the UK's carbon and renewable targets. It should increase the scale of investment in renewable energy and the energy saving and attract new people to invest in this. And obviously encouraging people to act cooperatively to create sustainable communities. We've seen so much of this now. There are so many communities already doing this, but it's about bringing those people together to give everybody an opportunity to be able to own and control this. And it's about respecting communities, the land share, the wildlife, through genuine stakeholder involvement and management of this. These things have to be done very carefully when we're looking at some of these, like I said, these big scales systems. You know, it is respecting those local people, those local, you know, what they want for their own community. And it's increasing people's awareness and support for renewable energy projects. And like I said, encouraging energy saving, as we've seen, that is the first step. Energy saving has to be the first step. And some of these big systems, you know, these are the snazzy things, but unless we've got the energy saving in there at the beginning, then actually there's little point. So there you are. At that point, I shall hand over then. Thank you very much.